Hey, Adam here again, and we're going to talk about how to handle problematic tenants without going to court. So, you're a landlord or a property owner, maybe you're a property manager or even a realtor, and you set everything up with the lease, you put the tenant in the property, and everything's been going pretty well until that day that the tenant doesn't pay their rent. So in one of my other videos, I talk about how to issue 3-day notices and how good screening makes for good tenants. But none of that matters now because we are in a situation where the tenant hasn't paid rent for a while. We've served our 3-day notices. They've ignored them and not paid rent. We've called, we've texted, we've emailed. We may even have gone by the property to see, what's up, what's going on. Did you lose your job? One of the things I can say is that having good communication with your tenant is premier. It's important. It is really, really something that you want to make sure that you're doing in your landlord-tenant experience. That being said, every now and again, no matter how hard you try or how great your relationship is or how great you thought it was, you're going to have a tenant that ghosts you, that doesn't respond, and now you're in a situation where you may have to go to court. So over on our blog on One Realty Management's website, we have this cool little chart here, and this is a landlord's dilemma. It's court eviction versus alternative resolution. So I want to talk about these other resolutions, these other methods, the things that you can do to get out of this sticky situation. So you'll see on the left over here that the cost is pretty high. It's between $5,000 and $15,000. That's legal fees, lost rent, and turnover expenses. So in your jurisdiction, in the county that you live in, you will have to actually go and get your 3-day notice and a copy of your lease and any other documentation that the county requires, and you'll have to file an eviction. So you can hire people to do that. In our case, we use attorneys for everything because we want to make sure that the legal process is sound, that we're not going to have a sticky situation coming back on us. So between $5,000 and $15,000, the timeline can be weeks to months, and the stress level is very high. Your intended outcome here is legally binding but expensive. So this whole process of getting the tenant out, the judge has to grant it. The tenant can come and contest. There could be some other stuff going on. I'd like to think that landlords do everything that they say they're going to do, but there could be some other stuff going on. The judge is going to listen to that. They could grant an extension. Even if it's around the holidays, a lot of times judges don't really want to issue the writ of possession. That's what happens after the eviction's done, when the sheriff comes out, you change the locks and they stand there, and then you actually get the premises. There are alternative methods, and that's really what I want to focus on this video. One of the things that we have done over the years, and I actually learned how to do this when I was buying bank foreclosures back in the day. And one of the things I learned is that a lot of people would just be living in the houses. Some people would move in, and we would do what's called cash for keys. In this scenario, we just go to the tenant and say, hey, we'll give you $1,000 if you will vacate the premises. Now, a lot of times they'll want to negotiate. I personally do not negotiate. I will make you a one-time offer, and you have to get out within 24 or 48 hours, whatever we agree on. And after you move out, then I will give you the money. My experience is that some people actually don't have the money to move, so this is enough to at least get a moving van, get all their stuff out, and get it into a storage facility. Timeline on that, 3 to 14 days. Me personally, I've gotten people out in 24 hours. Once again, communication is key. I'll go to the property. I'll let them know this is a real thing, and I'll do cash for keys. Another alternative method is mediation. Let's say that you do end up in a sticky situation. You're within the court system. You have a tenant that's contesting you, and they're upset. You could actually hire a mediator that will come in between the two parties and negotiate. Now, the tenant's still gonna have to respond. Like, they're gonna have to actually be around and open up paperwork and chat with people and show up and do this mediation. I like this next option the most, just direct negotiation. The cost is minimal. The timeline is days to weeks. And this is when you get, in contact with the tenant, chat with them and just find out what's going on. Have a heart here. Don't be hard. Just say, hey, what's going on? How come you didn't pay your rent? How come you can't get out of the property? And that's when you want to get in and solve those problems. So quick plug for One Realty Management. We're professional property managers. We're very, very experienced in getting in and negotiating with tenants. If you find yourself in the situation, maybe you bought a property, inherited it, maybe you're a landlord yourself and things have just gone sideways. If you need some help, you can hire us to come in and help you out of this situation. That is something that we do. So a professional property manager that knows how to navigate these waters, that's going to be worth the weight in gold. Okay, preventative strategies on the bottom down here. Prevention is cheaper than resolution. So this is where good screening comes in. Have another video on that. This is where writing the proper lease and having good communication with that tenant comes in. So strong lease agreements, thorough tenant screening in the first place, inspecting the property, getting inside. Not only can we check on what's going on inside the property, but we also can create a good relationship with the tenants. Clear communication channels, as I mentioned, and written documentation. You're not going to be able to have success as a landlord if you don't have the proper documentation. So hey, that's the landlord's dilemma, court eviction versus alternative resolutions. I hope you don't have to deal with this. I hope that you have good and happy tenants and have a great experience in the first place and you never end up here. But if you are here now, give me a call, shoot me a DM, and I would love to help you.